The Vandy Vape Pulse 80 watt box mod. The Vandy Vape Pulse BF 80 watt box mod was sent to me for review from sourcemore.com, and this is the infamous device from popular reviewer Tony B that created all that controversy within the vape community in regards to Vupu. Now I won't go into those details here, but I'll include a link in the description if you want to learn more. But this is all about the Pulse, so let's talk about it. First, let's talk specs. It's an 80 watt regulated device with adjustable wattage. The 510 connection has a leak-proof design. It's compatible with 18650 and 2700 batteries. The squonk bottle holds 8 mils of e-juice. The output voltage is between 0.5 and 8.5 volts. It has temperature control with a range between 200 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 to 315 Celsius. Resistance range is between 0.05 to 3 ohms in variable wattage mode or 0.05 to 1.5 in temp control mode. And it comes in 8 different colors, 2 carbon fiber models and 6 resin panel models. Okay, now here's what you get in the box. Pulse BF 80 watt box mod, an 8 mil squonk bottle, 1 QC USB cable, 1 instruction manual, and 1 18650 battery adapter. And if you get the high-end version package, you also get a 30 ml squonk refill bottle. And that's really the only difference between the standard version and the high-end version packages. So the size of the Pulse is 82 millimeters tall, 56 millimeters wide, and 27 millimeters in depth. If you're in the US and you don't understand the metric system like me, that roughly translates to about 3 inches tall, 2 inches wide, and 1 inch in depth. Because it's made with the same plastic as the original Pulse, it's very lightweight. There are a bunch of different panels available for the 80 watt Pulse, and you can order these individually from a bunch of different vendors, which is awesome because you can easily change up the design of the device as you please. I like this a lot because if I have a colorful atomizer, I want a matching device. And from what I've seen, the carbon plates are the cheapest at around $6 for a pair. The fancier resin plates cost about $8 to $12 per pair, depending on where you look. The plates are held in place on the device with 2 magnets on each plate. They look small, but they hold tight. I don't have any problems with them falling off or with them wiggling around. If you take the front plate off, you get access to the squonk bottle and the battery compartment. If you take the back plate off, you have access to the battery so that you can push it out. You also get access to the cover that leads to the internals. These little screws are T4 Torx screws, in case you're wondering. Also, if you take it apart, know that there's a small screw underneath the small blue sticker, so don't break the cover trying to tear it out. After removing the cover, you'll see the internal components and how this is all assembled. And this is why Vandy Vape is claiming that the 510 connector has an anti-leaking design. There are several seals in here, and there's also one that you can't see around the 510 assembly. So everything inside looks good to me, but I'm no electronics expert. It has a very clean front panel, which has a round firing button, which is very clicky and responsive, a bright and great looking display screen, up and down buttons, which are also very clicky and responsive, and the micro USB port. The Pulse 80 watt uses Vandy Vape's new chip technology called the Gene chip, which is like a play on the DNA chip. It has all of your typical safety protections, and it seems like a really nice chip, and it's pretty damn fast too. It fires immediately with no delay whatsoever. It fires so fast that sometimes it fires on me when I'm trying to turn it off or just change settings. And a feature that I think is really cool with this chip is that it detects the build on your atomizer and tries to automatically match the power that it thinks will work best for that build. And you can modify it yourself if you want. But for example, if you're using a 0.3 ohm build, it will set it at 42 watts. And I found that this feature works pretty well. When the device is on, press the firing button 3 times fast to get into the menu. You have power mode, bypass mode, and several temp control modes. So power mode is just your typical everyday wattage mode. Bypass mode, this makes the device work like a mech mod, but with regulated safety features. So this powers your atomizer based on the level of charge of your battery. The manual says that the best range to use in this mode is 0.08 to 0.15 ohms. In temp control mode, you have the option to use Ni200, stainless steel, and titanium coils. If you press the firing button 4 times while in any of the temperature control modes, you can adjust the wattage that it starts at. Outside of the various modes, you also have some other features. If you press and hold the firing button and up button at the same time, it locks the device. You can't change the wattage settings or fire the device when it's locked. If you press and hold the firing button and down button at the same time, it'll flip the screen. And then there's also a secondary menu. If you hold the up and down buttons at the same time, you get into that secondary menu. And this menu is a little different depending on if you're in power mode or temp control mode. If you're in power mode, you can set custom curves and switch between power mode and voltage mode. So in the PV screen or the power voltage, you can change the device to adjust based on voltage instead of wattage if you want. And this is probably more for the hardcore or old school vapors, since voltage settings are what we used to use. It's a nice little feature if you want it. You can adjust voltage from 0.5 to 8.5 volts. In the temp control secondary menu, you can set custom curves, lock in your resistance, and you can set TCR values. If you don't know what locking the resistance does, it basically gives your device a reference point of what your atomizer is built at when it's at room temperature. And that's because TC wire resistance fluctuates while it's being fired. So locking the resistance helps the device to understand what the base resistance is and helps it work correctly. And TCR values lets you adjust the temperature coefficient resistance of the specific wire that you're using. For example, a lot of devices will use a generic TCR for stainless steel, but there are different types of stainless steel which have their own TCR values. So you can set that in the device to get more accurate temp control. Okay, as for how temp control works, I don't use temp control, so I'm not a pro. I have been using it exclusively for the past week, so I have a little experience with it on the pulse, and it works okay, but it slows down the chance of getting dry hits, but you can still get dry hits. And many people have already talked about the performance of TC mode in the pulse, and I'm just going to tell you what everyone else is saying. Basically, firmware version 0.0.5 works decently enough, but if you update to the firmware version 0.0.6, temp control works very poorly, and a lot of TC users are actually downgrading back to version 5, so just a heads up on that. I'm sure Vandy Vape will release an update, but as of right now, if you use TC, don't update the firmware. Okay, so let's get into custom curves. So there's the option DIY 1 through 5. You would use this to change how the pulse vapes over the course of several seconds. For example, if you want the device to fire at 50 watts on the first second, and then immediately drop to 30 watts for the next several seconds, and then maybe drop again to 15 watts on the final few seconds, you can do that. You can customize the wattage for every second of your hit up to 10 seconds. And this works the same for temp control mode too, except for that you change the temperature for each second. While in the D menu, you vape right there. You don't need to exit. If you do exit, you go back to regular mode and you're no longer using those custom curves. So that's it for the curves. The last two options in the secondary menu let you see the ID of your device and the firmware version that you're running. You can do firmware upgrades on this, and Vandy Vape has already released one update and has made the original firmware available if you need to downgrade. I haven't updated my chip yet, so I can't tell you much about it, but I'll include some links with more information in the description. And I do know that the newest firmware update has a lot of features. The squunk bottle capacity is 8 mils, so that's pretty good to me. The bottle is tinted dark, but it's still pretty easy to see the juice level. The metal screw cap on the top of the squunk bottle is manufactured really well and has nice threading. The tube inside is cut at an angle and it sucks up e-juice perfectly. And the bottle isn't too soft and it's not too firm. It feels just right. If you get the high-end version, you'll also get this squunk refill bottle. And I've been really skeptical about the usefulness of these ever since they came out more than a year ago. I just never felt like it was hard to take a squunk bottle off to refill it. But after using this refill bottle, I feel stupid for not buying one a long time ago. This makes refilling squonkers so easy and mess-free. I thought it would be a pain to clean it out every time after using it, but I don't even clean it. I always change flavors in my atomizers without changing cotton or coils, so I figured a few drops in the bottom of the refill bottle is like the same thing. So that's how I use it. But if you did want to clean it, it's not that hard either. Add a drop of soap, a little water, shake it up, and you're good to go. That would be good enough for me anyway. Using that refill bottle isn't intuitive if you've never seen how to use one. I tried using it without watching a tutorial and I learned the hard way. If you fill it up, you screw it on and just try pushing e-juice into the squunk bottle, you'll push e-juice and air into the bottle. And when you take the refill bottle off, that pressure pushes e-juice out of the top of the device and it'll make a huge mess. So to use the refill bottle, just screw it onto the device and push the air out of the squunk bottle and into the refill bottle. And then squeeze the squunk refill bottle and it'll push the e-juice into the squunk bottle. And you can do this a couple of times until the squunk bottle is full. Then just unscrew the refill bottle and you're good to go. It's really simple. The device comes with a USB cable, which allows for both firmware upgrades and to charge your device. So you can charge your battery directly in the device. You can also use the device while it's charging, but Vandy Vape recommends that you don't. The Pulse 80 watt can take either a 2700 battery or an 18650. A 2700 battery is great if you want long battery life, but if you want to use the 18650, the Pulse comes with an adapter to make it fit. If you want to find the best battery for the Pulse, Just do a search in Google for Mooch's recommended batteries, and you'll find his page on the e-cigarette forum with a link to his list of recommended batteries. I won't name any specific batteries here because his list is always being updated, but I'll also include a link in the description. To take the battery out, you need to remove the back panel. Personally, I would prefer to have a battery ribbon to pull the battery out. I know it's not that big of a deal, but I don't like having to take the extra step of removing both plates to remove the battery. Alright, I think I've covered everything. If I left something out, please let me know in the comments. But overall, I think the Pulse 80 watt is an awesome device. It fires so damn fast. It has a ton of features to customize your vape. It's comfortable, it's light, and it looks really nice. The only con that I really have is that the temp control seems to have issues, but hopefully Vandy Vape fixes that in a firmware update. The price for the 80 watt Pulse is different depending on the package and the plate designs. For example, the resin plates are about $10 more than the carbon fiber models, but you can get it from sourcemore.com for anywhere between $68 and $85 with free shipping. Alright, thanks again to sourcemore.com, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.